YouTube, and we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the last podcast of this string, which was all about alternative medicine and having different modalities available to us. So, just a little bit like this for YouTube. There we go. It's it's a fabulous year because I got to share with you everything that I have tried over the years, everything that brought me solace and healing and transformed me completely. But I think the culmination point of this is holistic medicine in general. So if you look at my business card, I'm actually a holistic practitioner, which means that I use several different modalities and help people find their health, go back to health through different therapeutic methods. So, this year was all about exploring natural, non invasive healing methods that can complement your routine and help you navigate stress, finding balance, and restoring you to optimal health naturally. Now, I've been simply exploring these natural methods with you and informing you of what's out there. And some of those methods have been around for quite thousands of years, so a very long time. And I'm a curious person by nature. So when traditional medicine was failing me, I looked outside the box and I found all these different things. So that's why I thought it was so important to share those findings with you. Now, I do not diagnose conditions, nor do I prescribe substance or perform medical treatment, nor interfere with the treatment of a medical licensed professional. It's recommended that you see a licensed physician or a licensed healthcare professional for any physical, psychological ailment or condition that you may have. The idea of sharing this with you is that sometimes we're not seeing the progress that we're expecting to see. We're not seeing a big change, you know? And so sometimes complementing your traditional medicine with something else is what can make a big difference. And we'll see today through research that that's been proven to be quite effective. So we'll continue our search into alternative medicine that require little cost or little training, and it can be done by yourself in many of the cases. And it's valid for the people who are sick or healthy because prevention is the best medicine, right? So staying healthy and not waiting until you are sick to do something is, I think, the most important thing. So if you are healthy, it's fantastic, and you should not take for granted that you know it's going to last forever. If you have bad eating habits, you are not taking care of yourself, and especially for the young, they bounce back pretty quickly. However, the accumulation of these behaviors eventually come out, and that's when it's less easy to brush them off. So we're live right now. So hi, Stephanie, you're welcome to leave your comments. You're welcome to ask your question. If you're watching the show after the fact, just subscribe to the channel so next time you don't miss it. But you can still post your comments and your questions in the links, and I take the time to answer all of them. So the natural alternative to complement any ongoing therapy is a way to stay balanced and healthy or restore that balance that was lost. So, holistic medicine is an approach to medical care that emphasizes the study of all aspects of a person's health, not just the physical aspect, but also the psychological, emotional, mental, social, economics, and cultural factor. Now, you've heard me refer to the book "Dying to Be Me" before. She was able to heal herself from a stage 4 cancer when all the doctors had given up on her, mostly when she actually realized that it was all her fears and her inhibition that were rotting inside of her and caused the cancer. And when she came to this realization, she was able to heal stage 4 cancer overnight. And it took some days, and I think it was up to 3 weeks for all the lesions to disappear and heal completely. But they couldn't find a trace of the cancer anywhere in her body, and they tried. So her mindset changing and her realization that She needs to be happy. And not just happy, like smiling, but feeling like a whole individual, not being bound by the cultural mishmash that she grew up in, and all the society aspects that made her feel bad about herself and a bad person, but only from a cultural standpoint, not from a universal standpoint. So holistic medicine allows you to explore all of those things. So going in within your space and asking you, so what is your space filled with? Is it filled with love? Is it filled with resentment, anger, judgment, right? And these things eventually bear down on you and your health. So holistic medicine is complementary medicine, combines the therapies and philosophies of conventional medicine with holistic medicine, which means that it doesn't have to work on its own, and it doesn't prevent any conventional medicine from taking place. The idea is to facilitate the healing with assistance and extra help. So, what do traditional medicine do? In orthodox medicine, the primary focus is on treating the illness or the symptom. But rarely will you ask yourself, so I have cancer, you're treating the cancer, but why did I get cancer? Why did I get the illness in the first place? Right? I'm depressed. You're giving me antidepressant, but what about the fact that the road that I took that got me to this place where I'm down and I'm hurting and I'm depressed, right? I don't know if you realize this, but if you stop to think about it for a minute, that's the way traditional medicine works. Oh, there's a boo boo, here's the cure, and go away. But we don't look at how do these things take place? How did this happen? I did a podcast very recently because my new book on healing from narcissistic abuse has finally come out, and I was explaining that certain types of abuse affect us emotionally, physically, and mentally. And even though we can take pills for it, and even though we can go to treatment for it, we need to find what caused it in order to erase it, in order to take it out of us. So we don't continuously develop different symptoms throughout our lives because we're not dealing with the actual issue. We're just dealing with the symptoms. So, hang on. My video is not following me. Now, so what does it matter? Why is this important? Because all the body systems are interdependent, and health is a result of all the system being in harmonious balance. Now, if you've watched my podcast before, you've seen my videos before, I always refer to the very, very important thing that you have a physical body. Yes, it's obvious. You see it, you feel it, you can look at it in the mirror. But what you can't see is your emotional body, your mental body, and your spiritual body. You are spiritual beings. We're just having an experience here on earth when this is not all there is. There is so much more. And so if we only look after the physical part, and eventually it breaks down to a point where you're like, I don't know what to do anymore. And that's usually when people start finding me and some of my peers, because they're like, okay, we've tried everything and nothing seems to work. I recalled an incident of a lady who had hurt her shoulder. And it was around the time when she moved, but it was 3 weeks after she moved. And so when she came to see me, she's like, well, I hurt myself while I was moving. Now, I went to the doctor, I went to the chiropractor, I went to the massage therapist, and I'm all out of benefits, and none of this is reducing the pain in my shoulder. And when we really took the time to look into it, I made her realize that if the pain occurred 3 weeks after the actual move, the move is not what caused the injury or the pain. Now, more specifically, what did happen when the pain started is what's important. And what had happened is that she had a visit from her mother-in-law who's very critical of her and very judgmental of her and criticized her for 3 days. And that is when the pain happened. So this discomfort that she was feeling, created a physical pain. Now, because of the pain, she's allowed to excuse herself and go because she's in pain. Do you see how your body, your soul, your mental body, emotional body, they all work together? You're in my home, respect me, right? But for some of us, saying these things is extremely difficult. So the challenge is accepting all of these things being thrown in, right? But if we were more realistic, because a lot of people don't understand energy. We're made of atoms. Atoms is energy. So they're energetically throwing garbage at you. Every comment, every judgment, every time someone blasphemes, all of these things, it's like throwing pieces of garbage. Now, some of them are candy wrappers, and some of them are full on a pile of dog poop being thrown in your living room. If you could physically see all this energy, then you would say, "Well, what are you doing? Why are you throwing garbage in my house? Pick yourself up. Don't put this here. Keep my space clean. Who do you think you are for coming into my home and dirtying my home?" And yet, we allow people to treat us badly and to speak to us and denigrate us and tell us we're stupid, we're dumb, we're incapable, and all these other things. How is that more acceptable than someone throwing garbage at you? It's the same thing, right? So being able to understand this is the key of the work that I do and a lot of people that I work with, is understanding that when we speak about harmonious balance, we're not just talking about standing on your own 2 feet and eating healthy meals. We're also talking about being in a supportive environment, in a loving environment, in an environment in which you can communicate, in which you can express yourself, and you can express your ideas, your aspiration, and your dreams, and not be put down and ridiculized. And all of that affects your physical body. So we'll explore that. Now, the basics of holistic medicine is that health can be optimized and illness can be prevented. So not just with careful nutrition and avoiding, intoxicants or toxins that pollute your physical body, but also by being able to be in an environment in which you feel safe, in which you feel that you can express yourself, in an environment where you feel nurtured and loved. Now, holistic medicine is a part of alternative medicine, but it's basically the umbrella under which all alternative medicine fall under. In the most cases, they might be more specialized, like we talked about this year, color therapy. We talked about dance therapy. They work with movement. They work with the eyes. But they also, if you have someone who is not as pragmatic and third dimensional thinking, they will tell you that it feeds the soul, it feeds the mental body. It's more than just the physical that gets fed, that gets treated, right? Sometimes alternative medicine can refer to experimental drug treatment that are not yet accepted by conventional medical practitioners. But in this case, we're talking more about the natural medicine, right? The natural alternatives, things that cause no harm, that are not foreign to the body, and allow you to energetically rebalance yourself. So when you can see the wavelengths, right, of music, or if I had a very fancy producer, I'd show you images of these things as I'm talking about them, but it's just me. So I'll try to describe it for you. These wavelengths, these light lines, like a machine for the heartbeat. It measures your heartbeat through lines on a screen, and that's how you measure sound. That's how you measure light. There's different frequencies. So when your body is within the frequency of love, of peace, of grace, of calm, of safety, your waves are very even, and they're very in a round, shaped, and they're balanced. When you're angry, this rhythm gets out of focus. If the anger persists, if the resentment persists, if the negative emotion persists, that's when you eventually are out of sync. You're not within your normal rhythm. And so because of that, you're disaligned. And this is what is called a disease, because the frequencies are working against one another, and they're clashing, and they're creating headaches, diarrhea, vomiting, ulcers, and eventually grows into, cancer and deadly disease. So holistic medicine is a part of this podcast, right? I like to define terms so that we're clear, we know what we're all talking about. The holistic medicine I'm talking about is a non-pharmaceutical and non-invasive, as it stands somewhat separate, from the uh, experimental drugs and things like that. It's a mind body aspect, right? It covers a variety of technique designed to enhance the mind's capacity to affect bodily function and system. Now, think about what I just said, and I will go into details about this tonight so that you hopefully all of a sudden have an epiphany and the light goes on and you understand what I've been trying to teach you now for several years. um, the mind's capacity to affect bodily function and your symptoms, which means what's in your mind. Inside your mind are your thoughts, but they're also your beliefs. So I had someone, which was very interesting experience I had, who said to me, she sneezed, right? I sneeze all the time. Sneezing is a normal reaction to particles entering your nose, and it tickles your nostrils and you sneeze. Doesn't mean you're sick. It doesn't mean you're getting a cold. Just it's just a reaction. Just like if I tickle you, you'll laugh, right? So this person sneezed and says, "Oh, I'm going to be sick. I got a cold." I said, "You don't have a cold. You just sneezed." "No, no, 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 no. I've got a cold and I'm going to be sick." And she was convincing me that she was going to be sick. So I'm like, that's quite incredible that you're making yourself sick by forcing your body and your atoms to disalign based on this belief. And then she says, "Oh, it's going to last for 3 days." So the next morning she gets up. She is sick now. She was perfectly fine the day before, but now she's sick. And she's like, I said, "Okay, well, would you like some soup? Would you like this?" What we do to help with a cold naturally with food and heat or cold. Or I was just like, "Nah, nothing's gonna work. Absolutely nothing's gonna work. I'm gonna be stuck with this for 3 days, but in 3 days I'll be fine." Well, she wouldn't do anything because nothing worked, and it took 3 days. On the fourth day, she got up. She was perfectly fine. She's like, "See, I told you it was gonna last 3 days." I said, "No, you told your body that it was gonna last 3 days, so your body obeyed." Because you see, you're the architect of your body. So it's whatever you decide, it's whatever you put together, it's whatever you believe will happen. And then the energy will assist you in creating what it is you want to create. It's mind boggling for some people. They're like, "Well, I'm miserable." And you're saying, "I'm miserable because of me." You're not miserable necessarily because of you, but because of all the events that came before this moment, right? If you were in a nurturing environment, you've been loved, you've been encouraged, you've been supported, is very different than someone who had to do everything on their own. Someone who had to, I know from experience, someone was collecting bottles until they could get enough to buy a craft dinner box so they could go home at 7 and have dinner, right? So they're miserable because of the environment of the whole situation. But the key important thing is you don't need to keep being that way. You can forgive, you can let go, you can move on. This doesn't necessarily happen overnight. The people I work with, I usually tell them, take your time, really do the exploration. Don't be afraid of what you're going to find. It's important that you understand where this is coming from so that it no longer is the bus driver of your life. There's funny little cartoons that sometimes you can see, right? You have someone that's sitting on the left side of the bus and it's sunny and they're looking at these wonderful flowers and everything is fantastic. And you have the other person who's sitting on the other side of the bus and they're seeing a rock cliff and it's gray and it's dark and there's no light on that side. They're on the same bus, but their perspective, their ideas, their beliefs are orienting them towards the dark side. You need to take all your courage and get up and go sit on the other side. It's easy to do if you're in a bus. However, during this exercise, you need to, which means have an introspection, discover why did you pick that side of the bus? Why did you go sit there? And now realize you don't have to sit there anymore, and you can change. You can go sit in the light. You can be where it's warm and fuzzy, and it's okay. Um, Now, the mind body medicine are increasingly used as effective complementary medicine along with conventional treatment. So, younger doctors are more aware of what's out there, they're more open to the idea. I've worked with cancer treatment hospitals, and they're welcoming me there. They're accepting that the Reiki that I offer is alleviating the symptoms that the patients are not having to go through. They see, they don't need to believe. As long as they see the result, they are willing to encourage this practice to take place. The world is getting more and more open. But I want you to understand that about 100 years ago, uh, there was no big treatments and medication and things like that. What was available back then was herbal medicine, was manipulation, was water, was the things we explored this year. So I don't know if it's television, I don't know if it's the influence of media that all of a sudden we think that it was always this way. But this is actually the what was new, not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what's been around for ages. So the techniques being used in holistic medicines are risk-free. They've been shown to increase the quality of life and reduce pain and improve symptoms for people with chronic disease. Now, this is, to me, sounded really, really great because I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and I was in pretty, really bad shape. And amazingly enough, how long has it been now? Almost 20 years later, I'm healthier now. I'm more active and I'm enjoying life. Something I couldn't do when I received my diagnosis. And it's all because I embraced all these mind body medicine. I went and explored, and I did the introspection, and I proceeded with the healing. Now, there are many parts of the holistic medicine can include aromatherapy, art therapy, affirmations, flower essence like the Bach flower remedies, Feldenkrais, yoga, movement therapy, meditation, visualization, Qigong. All of those that I explored with you this year is all part of holistic medicine. Now, mind body medicine has been subject to intense research, and studies have established that the relationship between stress and disease, and it indicates that cancer and heart disease patients who make use of mind body techniques have significantly longer survival rates compared to those who did not. Now, that doesn't mean that you should solely rely on these methods, whether when other medical care is required, particularly for serious condition like heart disease or cancer. But if you can go to the cause of those heart disease and the cancer, if you can determine what got you sick in the first place, well, obviously your chances are, while you're being treated, that the recurrence is much lower because whatever caused it in the first place is no longer present. So hopefully I'm clear today. But if you have questions, please don't hesitate. You can put your questions on Facebook or on my YouTube channel. I'm screening both live. And for the podcast, which is always uploaded after, you can leave your comments and I'll be happy to answer them. Now, I want to talk about naturopathic medicine because it is holistic medicine as well. But there's more to holistic medicine than just naturopathic medicine. Naturopathic is based on the belief that the human body has an innate healing ability, and the practitioners are divided into groups. So you have the traditional naturopaths, and you have naturopathic physicians who employ the principles of naturopathy within the ideology of traditional Chinese medicine. And the emphasis is placed on nutrition, physical manipulation, stress management, and exercise. So when I say the word exercise, some people always, they irk at me. And because we have this false idea that exercise needs to be going to the gym 4 days a week and doing strenuous cardio and you have to sweat and it has to be hard and it has to hurt. That's not what exercise is. So I prefer to use the term moving. Most people sit down at a desk and work sitting all day. They don't move. If you look historically and in the life of the human history, when has that ever happened? We've had to take care of the fields. We've had to take care of animals. We've had to do labor with our body. We were always constantly moving. And then all of a sudden, we are at a full stop sitting in front of a screen for most people, most days. So the moving part doesn't have to be strenuous. It should actually be enjoyable. It could be a walk. It could be taking a bike ride with the kids. It could be walking your dog. It could be taking a dance class. This is exercise. This is movement. This is, I mean, depending if you're an athlete or not, but you don't need to have huge cardio. It's good to keep your heart healthy, to keep, and through movement, you will need your heart to pump faster. It doesn't need to be every time you make exercise to be nearing a heart attack. Just means move, get out, do some things. All right. So there are 6 guiding principles in naturopathic medicine. And the first one is to let nature heal by removing the barriers that stands in the way of self-healing. And this reaches out to holistic medicine as well. This is what I'm saying. What is the cause that is causing this? And if we can go there and fix that, naturally the order of things will be restored. Your energy will be in phase again. You will be balanced and there will be no disease. The second guiding principle is to identify and treat the cause rather than cover up the symptoms. And this is really important. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying doctors are doing any cover-up operation. But what I mean by that is if you have a headache and instead of stopping what you're doing, going for a walk, breathing some fresh air, and then coming back to it, you simply pop some painkillers and you keep doing what you're doing. This is what it means to cover up the symptoms. You're not listening to what your body is saying to you. You're not acknowledging the discomfort your body is feeling in the moment. And on top of that, you're not only continuing what you're doing, but you're negating the messages your body is giving you. So how is your body supposed to speak to you? How are you supposed to listen? To at what point are you going to stop and listen? And it's oftentimes when everything becomes so unbearable that we can neglect the pain anymore, because now we even with all the pill popping and whatever else you tried to do to cover up the symptoms, you can no longer cover that up. And the third guiding principle is to do no harm. Again, holistic medicine is all about causing no harm. So they're very, very similar, right? I hope you see the similarity here. To have no risk procedures and being able to match a diagnosis to the treatment of the individual patient. What does that mean? It means that there's no blanket statement. You can have 5 people come in an office and there are 5 people who complain of headaches, but not all 5 per people will have the same cause. In my case, and I often use that as an example, I was suffering terrible, terrible migraines. And the reason was that I needed these glasses to stop the blue light reflection because I'm staring at the screen all day. And when I'm wearing the glasses, and I have a special light that is complementary, I don't have headaches. I haven't had headaches since I've had those glasses. So sometimes each symptoms has to be taken within the individual's own personal circumstances, and not just shove everybody who has headache in the same pouch and just give them the same treatment. The fourth guiding principle is to educate the patient. And how many times do we actually receive education, right? I think that that's very important, to take the time for the person you're working with and yourself to ask yourself, okay, so what is it that I'm doing wrong? And it's not because it doesn't seem so bad. Like right now, marijuana is legal, alcohol is legal, sugar is definitely legal. But you may not have realized the harm you're causing yourself by all the chocolate you're eating, by all the sugar that you're taking without realizing. So I remember it was quite of a shocker when I had to start examining what I was eating. And I thought I was eating pretty good. And then I looked at the labels and it was 20 sugars, 26 sugars, 32 sugars. And I'm like, wow, in a day, I'm having like 1,000 sugar. And I didn't even think I had any. And so that's why I would allow myself, a little pastry or a little something. But now I'm realizing I'm way, way, way above the natural intake, recommended intake of sugar in a day. So I had to take some steps to educate myself and start looking at all the labels and start buying things that have low salt content, low sugar content. Pay attention to what it is that I'm actually putting in my body and not just looking at the box with a pretty healthy picture, thinking it's healthy what's inside. It's not necessarily that. So we decided over the years to change our nutrition, and whatever I'm eating, I'm able to name. So whatever is in my plate, it's a piece of fish, it's actual rice, just rice, and tomatoes. So it's not processed, it's not come from a jar. It takes a little longer. I agree than just popping a jar open and just throwing something over. But we know exactly what we're putting in our body and what's the sugar content, what's the salt content, and because we're not eating processed food and we're making everything ourselves, um, we're eating naturally everything that our body can process and eliminate or use for building blocks. So, educating is also about lifestyle. If you're sitting at a desk all day and then you sit in a car in traffic for hours and then you go home and what do? You sit in front of a TV. That's not healthy, and it's not relaxation either. You're not able to let go of your stress of the day or being able to manage your emotion. You're just suppressing them with some numbing exercise of watching TV. Relaxation is to be in touch with your body. Now there's many ways to meditate, and I have many podcasts on that, but I'm saying there's a difference between being consciously aware of your physical body, mental body, and emotional body, and your spiritual connection, than sitting in front of the TV watching something that is numbing your mind. It's not the same thing. Now, the fifth guiding principle is to treat the whole person, and including genetics, environmental issues, spiritual elements as well. And I think that in holistic, we also go into the belief system. We go into um, we I personally really enjoy doing a historical review because a lot of the times people don't realize that their history is right there following them, but they seem to have lost touch with their history. They seem to have lost awareness of everything they've been through, or in some cases, just how far they've come. And so that is not necessarily a discouraging fact. Sometimes it's quite encouraging to be able to see, wow, I've left a poor environment, I've built myself up, I have a nice employment. So now I can relax. I can start looking after myself. And the sixth guiding principle is to prevent illness before it can arise. So there you go. Very, very similar to the holistic medicine. Holistic medicine is just more varied, per se. Now, why should holistic medicine work? Well, what does meditation or yoga have anything to do with curing an autoimmune disease, right? Autoimmune disease are things like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia. Well, I would have told you nothing when I first got diagnosed. I couldn't understand. And then after I went to a pain management clinic, they explained to me that, first of all, scar tissue doesn't have to remain scar tissue. That slow movement to recreate the movement you used to have before is beneficial. And there are different ways, like using water to start doing the movement that you can do right now, and to eventually having the proper full length or variety of movement that you used to enjoy before the injury or before the diagnosis. The symptoms are the results of your immune system accidentally attacking your body instead of protecting it. And there are over 100 known autoimmune diseases. But what if I told you that autoimmune disease is caused by your soul trying to tell you you're heading in the wrong direction? Think about that for a second. And I can assure you that's exactly what happened to me. And since then, I've seen hundreds of people. And autoimmune disease have this quality of harming you, stopping you in your tracks, and being unable to pursue what you were able to do before. Hi, Michelle. I am Chi. So don't forget, if you have questions, I put them on there. Uh, the idea is your soul if, as a goal. There's a purpose for you coming to Earth, for you to being born from the parents you were born. No matter how great or terrible they were, they either encouraged you to build something or made you curious and made you want to look for answers. This sends you on a search. And if you're not going on this search, if instead you're self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, you're not going on your journey that you're supposed to go, you're not having this personal growth that's taking place, your soul eventually is like, if we don't start now, we're going to run out of time. We need to get on this. And so it stops you from doing anything else. Now, some people will use this time for this personal growth, for this awakening of their consciousness, for this time for introspection and being able to look for these answers and start looking, right? Not everybody is on that journey, but again, not everybody is aware that this is one of the solutions that can help alleviate these terrible, terrible diagnoses. I'm still technically diagnosed with fibromyalgia because it's not considered a curable thing, so I'm in remission. I'm not going to complain. But the ability to understand that, and it's not like when I said you're on the wrong path, it's not like I was a criminal, I was hurting people. I was just in a job that I didn't like, doing something that didn't motivate me. I felt literally like part of me was dying every day I was going to work. But I also had the belief that, I needed to have a big house and a nice car and jewelry and this and that. And then eventually I sat down and I'm like, "Hey, this job's not making me happy. If I'm not doing this job, can I continue living?" And of course, I have to make changes, right? Because I'm not making the use money I used to make before. But I realized that I'm happy to do what I do. I'm passionate about my books, about talking to you guys tonight, about the conferences I do all over the world, right? I love doing that. And so I asked myself, okay, so what is then important? And I realized jewelry was not important to me. A big fancy car was not important to me. High heel. What was important to me? And this is really important. I wanted to be happy. And I asked myself, what do I need to be happy? I said, well, as long as I have a roof over my head, I'm happy. As long as I have a car that drives me from A to B, I'll be happy. It doesn't have to be a Porsche. It can be anything else. And I need to be with friends. I need to feel loved. I need to feel supported. That's what makes me happy. And if I have all those things, what do I need everything else for? So I found my happy. And I realized my happy is not expensive at all. And I could afford to do what I do and continue eating. As you can see, I'm not a skinny person. I eat plenty. So I could eat what I wanted to eat. And my job is now to travel all over the world, to give conferences, to present my books, to do workshops. So one of the things that makes me happy is to travel. So I incorporated that into what I should be doing. The symptoms diminish, the happier I felt, the more motivated I felt, the more creative I was, then allowed me to contact my soul. That I can connect to my soul when I'm being creative. I can have the intuition, and then the synchronicity started to happen. Everything fell into place because I'm no longer trying to swim against the current. I actually just jump on the raft that was right there for me, going in the right direction, and it's easy. But in order to do that, I have to ask myself, Important question. So there's other authors and researchers and doctors over the last century that are suggesting just that. So I'm not the only one claiming this, right? It's not all about me, but I want to introduce you a few of them. So if you think I'm very far fetched, or you are actually, and this is the goal of these podcasts, curious and you want to know more, and you want to be able to ask questions. Oh, hey, Janice, you are spot on with your understanding of the soul being involved. Thank you. Yeah, so we have all these other people all around the world that are explaining or trying to explain these concepts, right? So the idea why I'm reaching out on Facebook and YouTube is to try to bring that to you in a way that it's easy to understand, and then give you resources that you can go and look at. You can do your own research and then discover what is it that you think about this, how do you feel about it, so you don't have to take me for granted. You don't have to accept everything I say to you, right? The idea is I want you to get curious. I want you to start asking questions. And I want you to get out there and find those answers, because they're out there and they're easy to find. So one of the person I want to talk to about is Bruce Lipton. Bruce is a cell biologist and a lecturer who's internationally recognized leader for bringing science and spirit together. Now, this is no short feat, because the spiritual has always been in one corner and the scientists have always been in the other. But now we have more and more proof. Science is kind of bridging that gap where things like the First Nations were saying that the rhythm of the earth is this rhythm, and they could mimic this rhythm with their drums. They can now measure this, and they realize it's the same frequency that the drums is emanating. But science wouldn't have believed them before until they could prove it, right? So Bruce is one of these captains, and he said, and I quote, "We can control our lives by controlling our perception. Your perspective is always limited by how much you know. Expand your knowledge and you'll transform your mind." Like, it's exactly what I just said, right? But he also says, this is important, your perspective. So, and I was a policewoman for 20 years. I would go on a case, and I would have several witnesses, and I would talk to 5 different witnesses, and you'd think that they were in 5 different part of towns. Like, they've all witnessed the same thing, but one person noticed that there was flour in the van and was looking at the flower, didn't really see what was taking place. The other person will describe the person to a T, what they were wearing, what brand they had, but can't recognize facial features. Everybody has their perspective. Everybody has their own way to look at things. Another way for this. I'm asking you, what are you wearing right now? And most of you will say, oh, well, I was on my way out to dinner, so this is why I dressed nice. I wanted to leave a good impression. Another person says, well, I'm watching you from my living room, and I'm in my sweatpants, and I'm just relaxing, and I'm enjoying my, being in my space. And no one will feel judgment in why I'm asking. You just say, oh, well, you're asking, so here's the reason. However, same question. Why are you dressed this way? But it's your mother asking. And all of a sudden, people are like, oh, and they can't even answer me right away. And I'm like, so why can't you answer me? And even though their mother's not present, they'll say, oh, well, if it's my mom asking, that means she's judging. That means that I shouldn't be wearing this because, and then there's this, and then there's that. But I said, but the question is exactly the same. She didn't ask you anything that I didn't ask you. And the person says, yeah, but it's mom. And that's the perspective, right? When we hear certain things or we see certain behavior coming from different people, it comes with a history of interaction, a history of maybe fun, laughter, or a judgment and resentment. You need to understand, where's your perspective? Are you being objective? Now, in the teachings of Buddha, he talks about being objective, being the witness. The same incident, the same question should have the same response. If it does not, you have to ask yourself, why am I responding this way? Why am I overreacting, protective, defensive, right? All of those things are representative of things boiling inside of you. Another guy which works closely with Bruce Lipton, because Bruce says, well, I know that if you change your perspective, you will change your energy, your frequency, and by doing so, you'll do better. But I'm not quite sure how to do that change, because a lot of our things are hidden in our subconscious. There, we have so many subconscious things rolling inside of us. I don't know quite how to identify it or to change it. And this happened while they had a conference, and Rob Williams was the next speaker. And the first thing he says was, I'm Rob Williams, and I know just how to do that. So Rob has a bachelor arts degree in philosophy from the University of California, and a master's degree in counseling and personal service from the University of Colorado. And he created a technique called Psyche to help transform your thoughts or your subconscious belief that are sabotaging you into conscious knowing. Now that doesn't solve everything. Um, I had someone who came to me and wanted to stop smoking. They understand now why they're smoking. They're smoking because of they're feeling anxious. They're smoking because they want to get away, and they need to go outside to smoke. But they're still consciously going to buy cigarettes. And I'm like, well, you now understand that if you feel like smoking, it's because you're feeling anxious and you want to get away from the situation. You don't need to use the excuse of smoking to do so. You can just leave. But this person's not ready to make that step yet, which is fine. But it's not a cure all and all. But at the very least, you're not being sabotaged by your subconscious belief anymore, which is very nice. Um, and how do subconscious belief work? Imagine you're a jukebox. Inside of a jukebox, there's all these songs that you can press and play. You know, when someone says, you're pushing my buttons. Well, they're pushing the buttons on the jukebox so that particular song comes out and starts playing. Now, in an optimal world where everybody's happy and healthy and strong and successful, the song titles would be, I love myself, I'm successful, I'm well respected, I'm intelligent, right? But unfortunately, because of our past, because of the way we were brought up, because of the environment we grew up in, because of the teachers and whatever they said, what's playing is, I'm stupid, I'll never succeed, I'm unlovable. And those negative songs come to form the driver at the seat of the bus. So if I'm unlovable, I don't deserve this. And if I'm stupid, well, I can't learn. I can't have that promotion because I'm too dumb. And eventually, that's what makes us sick. An author from that passed away in the 1940s, and there's quite a few very, very, very good authors that published books at the early turn of the century, 1890s to 1910, who were absolutely amazing as far as manifestation goes, as far as ideology goes. And one of them was Florence Scovel Shinn. Now, she was an American artist and a book illustrator and became a New Thought spiritual teacher. Now, think about this. This is awesome. New Thought spiritual teacher. So people would go to her and say, I'm poor, I don't have any money, I can't get a boyfriend. And she would say, okay, so abundance is surrounding me, and the person who is my perfect person comes to me, right? She would help them change these thoughts, change the way they felt about things, and materialize what they actually need. And she has 4 books, and they're amazing because the first book explains the theory, but the other books, she shows a lot of examples of how she transformed someone's thought and what actually did happen. So the new thought circles that Shin created was based on the book The Game of Life and How to Play It. But there's actually 4 books. In the second one, I believe, she teaches you what are the new thoughts, what are the new thinking ideas and new songs that you should be playing in your jukebox, how to transform what you're saying into something that's manifesting something good, something awesome for yourself. So she states that what we think, we actualize, materialize, and manifest. So what are you thinking? And I encourage you to put an alarm on your phone every 15 minutes for a full day. So do that on the weekend, obviously, or when you're not working. And catch yourself. What were you just thinking? Were you worrying about winter tires? Were you worrying about food? Are you grateful? Are you happy? Where are your thoughts at? That should bring you a pretty good idea of what's going on inside of you. But Florence Scotian said, if you think you're poor, you reinforce the energy around you to set yourself for poverty. There's a way out, there's a way up, but not if you don't believe in it. Now, Edgar Cayce, another one of my favorite authors, is a huge proponent that the teachings that he received while he was sleeping on the couch every afternoon for decades all center around the fact that what you think is what you create. You are creators. This is the secret. There's a movie, there's a book, and they're saying, manifest things, think. It's deeper than that. You can consciously be thinking, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich all day. But your subconscious could be saying, dude, you're not. You're dumb. You're an idiot. You can keep dreaming. And this is where we need to rebalance what's inside the subconscious with the conscious. Now, how do you know what's in your subconscious? Well, first of all, listen to yourself. What do you say? What are your favorite expression? Your expression is, mine is, I'm healthy as a horse. I love myself. Or I know some people, they'll do something, I'm so stupid. And I'm like, why are you saying that? Because although thinking is your first step, when you actually voice it out, you put more energy into it. You actually reinforce the thought and actualizing it. So try to catch yourself in, what are you saying? Are you saying, wow, good job, you did good today? Or looking at yourself in the mirror going, okay, you beautiful, amazing today. Or are you saying, oh my God, look at my eyes, I'm so pussy. And it goes downhill from there, right? So you need to pay attention to your thoughts and your words. You can enlist a word that, and this could be a fun evening amongst friends. You write down for each other what they say that you think is completely foolish for them to be saying. And not in a mean way, obviously. The goal of the game is to quote what the person is saying most of the time. And the person will get back, oh, that's true. I say I'm stupid all the time, right? So, okay, well, everybody else notice. So what does that do to your energy? You're convincing yourself at this point that you're stupid. As far as I'm concerned, no one's dumb and no one's stupid. They just haven't been taught properly. And this is as much for learning to speak properly, to write, to stay clean. Most people are like, well, everybody knows what clean is. Not necessarily. Some people don't understand what proper hygiene looks like. They need to be taught that. Normally, you're taught when you're young, but for some reason, some people don't have that, or didn't have the opportunity to be clean or whatever. So everything can be taught, and it can be taught in a nice, supporting, loving way. There's no judgment that needs to be, be put on there. I always go with the premise that no one has taught you. So let me show you how it's done. Let me show you how you can do this. And it's also valid for learning to be a medium, or learning to do a healer, or exchanging energy, or whatever else. Everybody can learn. You just need to have a good teacher that's willing to take the time to show you properly. It's as simple as that. In this mind over matter team that we're talking about, your ideas and your beliefs are literally then affecting your body, because your body's made of this energy, right? You also create your own magnetic field. So inside of this field, you can cultivate great things, or you can cultivate not so great things. So you tend to forget that you're not just a physical body. So your mental and your emotions and your connection to the divine, to spirit, creator, source, whatever you want to call it, are essential to your survival and your optimal health. So most people have completely lost touch to connect these other bodies. And they're still trying to talk to us. They're still trying to send us messages. Um, Dr. Masaru Emoto experimented on water molecules. That he would put water molecules and then he would put words on the slide and then he would put them in a freezer. All the words that were love, gratitude, kindness, compassion were crystallized in forms that were clear, big, and beautiful. Whereas poverty, violence, resentment, evil were all like mucked up and dirty and non-crystallized form, just frozen. It all came from the same water source, right? So in studies, if you do 20 slides, all the 20 slides will come from the same glass of water. So there's no reason why only the positive words would crystallize and the other ones wouldn't. Because it's all the same water, it's all the same slides, and it's all the same freezer. So technically, you should have similar results, but they don't. So you need to ask yourself, those words and those thoughts that you're having. Sorry, I have to plug this in. Are they then positive or negative? What are they crystallizing as in your field? Are they crystallizing beautiful crystals full of energy or black holes? Louise Hay, a very well-known author in the United States, it was an American motivational speaker and an author. And she wrote several books, but one of my favorite is You Can Heal Your Life. Now, another person claiming that by recognizing what the message is behind your physical ailment, you are able to transform this belief or this thought into, and acknowledging the message, into something positive that will transform your life. Now, she explains that pretty much any physical ailment has a root in an emotion or an idea that is locked us within ourselves and within our emotional and mental body. And the message is trying to come to us. And because we're not connected, it comes through physical messages. So if we look at a few, one of the ones I picked was adrenal problems. It represents feeling defeated and no longer being able to take care of yourself. Which, if someone would describe the symptom of having adrenal issues, they would say they're extremely fatigued, they lack energy, they're tired. Well, according to Louise Hay, you can change your adrenal issue by citing the following affirmation: I love and I approve of myself. Now, you can say this for a while, but the idea is that it sinks in. And if you now love and approve of yourself, whatever is making you feel defeated is going to change. So like I said, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and I was doing pretty pathetic. And then I realized I didn't like my job. It lacked creativity. It lacked humanity. It lacked, connection. And if I couldn't change the job, then I had to change jobs. I had to go and do something different. If you're in an abusive relationship, you need to leave. You need to seek help. And then you need to ask yourself, why was I accepting this kind of behavior? Why was I accepting someone treating me this way or talking to me this way? And this is where the I love and approve of myself kicks in. If you love yourself, you'll treat yourself with respect. And so therefore, you won't allow other people around you in your environment to treat you with disrespect. I'm simplifying it right now because I only have so much time to talk to you guys tonight. But this is the idea, right? A liver issue is where anger and primitive emotions get trapped. Resentment is loving the liver. So if you have a liver issue, ask yourself, what is my anger issue? What is my resentment? What is it that my emotional body is trying to say to me and I'm not acknowledging is present? Kidney issues relate to disappointment, failure, and shame. Allergies, she says, that we're still talking about Louise Hay here, she'll say you're allergic to something in your environment or a person, but not necessarily the cat. Yeah, I have to look at when is your allergy stirring and who's present, who's in the room, or what activity are you doing that is bringing that on. So that's very interesting. She's not the only author actually speaking about these physical message from the soul or the emotional or mental body. There's several authors out there. She's just, I think, one of the first one I think would have published a book about it and openly spoke to it about it. Now that the door's open, many more people are coming along, and the books are really thick and they have a lot of possible information and messages. So if that's something you're curious about, if you want to know, what is my inability to hear or my throat issues or my heart issue, there's a suggested message. Now, again, you don't have to take it for a check that you take to the bank to go change, but ask yourself, does that resonate with me? Does that make sense? Does that mean anything to me? Does that relate to my personal experience? Right? I'm just asking you to ask the question. You don't have to believe everything just because someone else put in the book, right? There's a lot of books out there. Now, mental illness is very interesting because none of them are actually mental. They're all, I think, emotional. From anxiety, you move to fear. From fear, you move to terror. To terror, you move to panic. From sadness to mild depression to severe depression, right? You don't usually wake up one day massively depressed. There is usually a long road that you've walked and ignored the messages, ignored the symptoms, ignored the telltale sign that something's wrong. And eventually you dig yourself deeper and deeper in these emotions until you find no way out. So, uh, in our society today, we tend to avoid introspection. I don't know when that stopped, quite honestly. But being able to discover what makes us sad, afraid, or hurt is just as important as not feeling sad or hurt anymore. But looking into it does not mean that you'll get more sad or sadder or more afraid. It might actually trigger the answers that the reason why you're afraid is because you don't know the source. Once you know the source, you remove the source, you don't need to be afraid anymore. No one becomes agoraphobic overnight. There's usually something behind it that is a cause for this. And because it's been ignored and untreated and not looked after, it one room to another. In holistic medicine, you are asked to participate. You are asked to take responsibility. For example, and there's no judgment here, but let's take liver cirrhosis. There's a few reasons why you can develop liver cirrhosis, but if you drank boatloads of alcohol, you can't blame the alcohol for making you sick. You were the one drinking the alcohol. Taking responsibility is asking, why was I drinking so much alcohol or so often? What was I trying to avoid? What was I trying to forget? Obviously, you're going to say to me, well, that can't be easy to do. I've been trying to avoid it. You turn all the lights on and you flip all the covers and you realize it's your old bunny slipper that you completely forgot. It's not a monster. However, being able to look at it, you have to examine then your maybe your shame, maybe your guilt, and all of those things. And that's not just healing your physical body; it's healing your emotional body, because that guilt, that shame, it's dragging you down, it's holding you back. So asking yourself simple questions. So how did I end up here? Where did I go wrong? How did I get on this path? Why am I so miserable? Why can I not be happy? Sometimes the real question is asking yourself, what is happiness for me? Not defined by anybody else. Ask yourself, what makes you happy? And that's not living in the past, by the way. It's questioning the life trajectory and all the important personal steps that you took along the way to allow you to heal, to have personal growth and awareness. My business name in French is the awakened consciousness, because I think if I could rename the English business now, it's too late. It's been 15 years, but that's what I would say. My job is to reawaken you to your consciousness, to make you realize who you really are, what's your real potential, what can you actually do. If everybody had a purpose on this planet would look completely different. If everybody understood that you need to leave this place better than when you found it, that you have an effort to put forward. We're not supposed to give you everything and everything is made for you. You're supposed to contribute and make the world even better. And that's what the soul purpose is about. It's your contribution to humanity to make the world a better place. So, your body state is a direct result of your choice. And in some cases, choosing to ignore the precursors or the red flags and take responsibility for that and saying, okay, now I am looking at it, I'm seeing it, and I'm handling it. Your mental body is also emanating energy, and the energy is usually spent on creativity, learning, getting ideas. And when your mental body is not working right, it presents sometimes as insomnia, inability to focus, to think, being forgetful, right? So, and sometimes headaches as well. So, holistic medicine encourages you to feed and care for all your bodies. Your physical body, obviously, it needs water, it needs simple, non processed food, movement, stretches. Your emotional body needs you to feel whatever emotion is present, needs you to get through the negative emotions that are haunting you, and allowing yourself when you need to laugh, cry, scream, hug, love, to be in that moment and to feel it and to be proud of these emotions. Your mental body needs creativity, learning, getting ideas through imagination, which means, it needs to look at clouds, it needs to smell the flowers, it needs to stare at a painting or a work of art. It needs you to be not so busy all the time and give yourself some time just to be. I think that's apparently the toughest thing that some of my students have to do. I said, just be in the moment. And she's like, what do I do? You don't do, you be. It's the complete opposite of doing. Being in the moment. I love nothing more than, this is a thing of mine, and I have the clouds right back behind me. I enjoy looking at clouds and trying to find shapes. That was my favorite game as a child. And now that we live in Alberta, we had a lot of cumulus poofy clouds like this summer. And I was like, this is awesome because I can do this game. I can look and find animals or find objects. And it sounds childish, but it allows me to unplug from the phone, unplug from social media, not be in front of a TV or a computer, and just be there. And that's usually when ideas pop in. That's when I remember things. That's when I make a list of all the things I need to do, because all of a sudden my mind is free to send me these messages. And because I'm listening and I'm writing it down, my mind knows she'll take care of it. So it doesn't become an obsession. It doesn't become something that is constantly running in my head. I'm able to say, okay, yes, I need to do this. Oh, right, I remember that. And I go back to my clouds, or I go back to my flowers, insects, puppy, whatever. Your spiritual body, not the least, but most important. They get through to you. Your spiritual body needs to be connected to the creator, to the source, to powerful being or higher self, call it whatever you want. And once you're connected, that's when you'll start having intuitions. That's when you'll manifest what you want for yourself because it's in line with divine will. You will feel guided in your life. Things will flow. There's no more resistance, there's no more fighting. You're in the right place, doing the right thing, and everything is lining up for you. True healings come from connecting to your true self. So, some people say, well, how do I speak my truth? Speaking your truth is being able to say what you think and feel without fear of judgment. It doesn't have to be a humongous hidden in the closet secret. It could just be, I know people that are concerned about saying to other people that they're spiritual. And I'm like, why are you so concerned? What do you think is going to happen? Well, what if they don't talk to me anymore? And my answer is, so what? That's going to create some space around you to allow you to make friends who are inclined in the same ideology, who want to meditate with you, who want to go and take a walk in the woods and hug a tree. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're feeling judged and constantly put down, then maybe you're in the wrong environment. There's nothing wrong with you. So connecting with you, uh, there in the holistic world, you can do that from reflexology, energy, movement, dance, music, sound, color, light, exploring your creativity. Like some people tell me, I'm not creative at all. I'm like, no, you are. You just have a picture that to be creative, you have to be a painter or you have to be a sculptor. But flower arrangements, decorating a home, gardening, planting, and making an arrangement outside, those are all creative. Writing a poem, coloring is being creative. You again, we can impose ourselves the limits of, well, I'm not an artist, so I can't be creative. That's not true. You can take local classes in your environment, cake decorating, knitting, crocheting, um, these photo albums that you put together, and words escaping me right now, but scrapbooking, all of those are creative. They're a time where you're not required to use your medical brain, your logical brain, and you can be swept by emotions while you're creating, but your emotions are also at rest. So you're getting into the third part, the part that is connecting to your soul. So the holistic medicine can help you through flowers, herbs, adjustment, posture, reconnecting with nature, working with the elements. Now, in one of the podcasts, I talked about water, but any of you who's been sitting by a fire camp at night looking at the stars can tell you there's healing in that alone, right? So start with simple questions. You know, what do I like? What makes me smile? What's my dream? And go in that direction. After I got divorced, I felt very lost because all I'd been was a mom for 6 years and a wife for 6 years, more like a slave and a maid. But I completely forgotten who I was. And it was very depressing because the kids went to their dad for 1 week, and I was like, for the whole week, I was just going around in circle, going, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know who I am anymore. And I had to sit down and ask myself, so what did I enjoy? What did I used to like? And I used to go to the gym, and I don't enjoy that anymore. I'd rather go hiking in the mountains. I'd rather be in the outdoors. I'd be closer to nature. So it's not because you like something in the past, you'll automatically like it now, but you can start there. I love sewing. I love painting. I love crafting. So I started doing projects. And one of those projects was writing my fantasy novel. So there's no limits as to what you can create. And rather than starting with, well, I've never done that, I can't do that, is, you know what? I always wanted to write a book. I have time now, no distractions, no one to take care of. I'll give it a try. It didn't happen in 1 week. It took several months, but I still managed to write this book. And that's the point, right? True healing, connecting to who you are. And for that, you need to know who you are. And I would like all of you to invite you to the spiritual fair in Drumheller. We're having this magnificent fair, September 28th, 29th, 9 to 5. And we have 14 speakers on various topics such as energy, music, power of awareness, crystals, colors, empaths, Tibetan traditional medicine, manifesting, and soul messages. So we have all of these topics being presented by 14 different magnificent experienced speakers. It's free to attend. So you have no excuses. It's not like you can say, oh, it's too expensive, I can't come, right? Look at our website for the lists and the times if there's a topic that interests you, particularly if you're coming out of town. There's lots of people coming from out of town. It's over the 2-day weekend, so it's really, 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 my gosh, I'm excited because the lineup is incredible. We have vendors, healers, readers, and yes, Michelle, I'm sorry. Maybe I'll do them live as they're talking, and I'll post them on my my Facebook feed. How's that? I'll give it a try if they want to be filmed. But during the amongst the vendors and healers and readers, I have you'll be able to find crystals, candles, smudging supplies, teas, alignment rods. There's also nutritionists, soul readers, energy readers. There's essential oils, spray, soap. There's personal coaches, meditation product, music, drums, flutes. We have herbal products, natural skincare, toiletries, and what else do we have? We have tarot, oracle cards, and pendulum for sale and for readings. We have alternative healers, Reiki, Access Bar. We even have a Tibetan traditional doctor among us, which she was watching earlier. So shout out to Amchi Kunga. We also have people coming to inform us on retreats, classes, workshops, and have books on different topics. There's also different decorative items for your house or your meditation room. We have psychics, mediums, tarot, oracle readers, fingerprint readers. Like, we have everything. Honestly, it's going to be awesome. I have vendors coming from Saskatchewan, all over Alberta and BC. We haven't seen the like of this in a while. I know, Michelle. It's too bad you're so far, but I will try to send you some videos on Facebook so you can actually participate with your soul, even if you can't be there physically. So whether you're just curious and you don't know anything about this, or you're an adept and you just want more, everyone is welcome. It's free entry. We have over $4,500 in door prizes, going from actual articles to a weekend retreat to a painting to, oh my God, the prizes are incredible. So it's your opportunity to learn more and to meet like-minded people. So if you might meet new friends at this fair. You might realize, oh my gosh, that's my neighbor 2 houses down. I didn't know you were into this. This is your chance to strike up a conversation. This is your opportunity to be educated, to ask questions, and to find what works for you and what maybe you'd like to try. So don't hesitate. So we're in Drumheller. Again, we open the doors from 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. And the speakers start on the hour, starting at 10. So there'll be a speaker at 10, one at 11, one at noon, and so forth and so on until the end of the day, both Saturday and Sunday. We're located on the second floor of the Badland Community Facility, located at 80 Veterans Way in Drumheller. So there's no signing up, there's no registration required. Just show up, bring your friends, and share the information with everybody, and come and see us. And I'll be there, obviously, the entire weekend. So if you need to ask questions, if you need to see me, I'll be happy to meet you there. So that's it for tonight. And we had so many comments. It was amazing. Thank you, everybody, for watching. It's always nice when, even if you just, say hi or whatever, I like it. It lets me know I'm not talking to myself on the screen. And on YouTube, comments and questions, that's awesome. So you can reach me at both. Like the page or subscribe to the channel. It helps us, and it helps everyone in the end. And then you won't miss another video from me. You'll always be on the know whenever I start something. The next one will be at the end of October, but it will be in French. My French people are complaining. They were all in English this year, so I'm doing one in French. And I will be in Peru for the month of November. So that's why there's nothing in Peru happening. Okay? So I love you lots, and thank you. And next year, I have an amazing podcast lineup again for you. I'm excited, and I like this once a month. It gives me more time to breathe in between the podcasts and research them better and give you the awesome information I can find. So if that's all for you guys tonight, I'll let you go. See you soon.